You're now live.
All right. Hello, everyone. We'll just give everyone just about another minute before we get started. My name's Heather Tainer. For all of those that may not know who I am or new to us presenting, so we will be with you and get started here in just about 1 minute. All right. Hello, everyone. Welcome to our session today titled It's All About the Relationships. Feel free to say hi to myself and Michael in the chat. We hope you had a great day at the conference so far and are glad that all of you chose to join us at the end of the day. As I mentioned, my name is Heather Tainer, and I serve as the Vice President for Customer Success at Avisa Retention. And I work closely with colleges and universities across the country, but I spend a great amount of time with our friends in North Carolina, where we currently work with 41 of the 58 North Carolina community college schools. I'm joined today by Dr. Michael Coleman from Haywood Community College. Michael will be sharing best practices as it relates to excellence in advising through using a people, process, and technology approach and understanding the importance of relationships. So, Michael, if you would just take a quick minute to introduce yourself and say hi to the group.
Hey, everyone. It's so good to be with you. I know likely many of you that are on today, and so it's always good to see colleagues. Hopefully you're exiting this pandemic well, and I hope to share some good stuff with you today. Of course, after our session is over, if you wanted to reach out and just pick my brain a little bit more, we can run some stuff off of each other. I'll be more than happy to talk with you about some best practices that we're doing across the state.
Great. Thanks, Michael. I love it. I can see people's names popping in saying hi, so many familiar names. So hello, everyone. For those of you who may not be familiar with who we are at Avisa Retention, but we're a higher education student success company. We focus really on serving the underserved with the goal to create more equitable scenarios for students. So our goal is to help our institutional partners positively impact student success and improve students' educational journey. And we do this through our Aviso Enterprise solution. Our goal is to really combine best practices, predictive analytics, and support it through technology. And we do this through bringing data from the systems, so Colleague, Blackboard, Moodle, Canvas, some of those systems that you all use. And our goal is to consolidate, standardize that data, build predictive models so we can predict success and identify risk. And ultimately, our goal is to allow for anyone who's working with students to have the information they need to better support and engage their students. So we know, you guys, if you've heard me speak before, or you know that it's our goal to make sure that people like all of you can make the difference and that you all have the right information at the right time. So that way, all of you can have the information you need to make the right interventions for the students and be proactive in those interventions. So again, I just want to thank all of you for joining us today. I miss seeing everyone in person. I can't wait to see you all again. Hopefully that will be sooner than later. But we work with colleges and universities across the country, as I mentioned, and obviously with the great state of North Carolina. So if you're an Aviso partner, you can go ahead and give me a shout out in the chat, and we will go ahead and jump right in so you guys can hear Michael on his best practice sharing. But before we jump right in here, just to level set, we talk about this a lot in our company and with our partners. We believe in a people, process, and technology approach. We know that technology alone is not the answer. And so you'll hear Michael talk a lot about the people and the process today, because the people and the relationship side of things are vital for success. So I'll stop talking now, Michael, and let you go ahead and jump in and to learn more about how Haywood takes this approach of best practices and the people and process side of things with relationships. So Michael, let's go ahead and jump in.
Okay. Well, first, I think I wanted to do is share a couple of quotes for everyone, because I want to try to preface the conversation with the value of relationship building. Of course, Heather's with Aviso. Aviso is a great product, and I'll talk to you some today about how you can utilize a product like Aviso. But really, it doesn't matter what technology or shiny tools that you have. It always should come back to relationships and relationship building. When you talk about moving the needle in terms of really transformative impact, you're talking about relationship building. And this was said by Kathy Engelbert, from the CEO of Deloitte. And then another famous quote that I'll always love sharing is by Maya Angelou. And that is, if you could go to the next slide, you can kind of see the picture there. But people will forget what you said, they'll forget what you did, but they'll never forget how you make them feel. And so I love that quote as well, because it's so important that in higher education, we have experiences with people that really, they never forget how we make them, or they'll never forget how we make them feel. So the things we do should basically illuminate those relationship building things or whatever. And we'll talk some today about Aviso, or how platforms can help you do that. Really want to focus on how you align people, process, and technology to work to your advantage. And so it's very important, that word alignment, because at many institutions, we can be doing a lot of different things. And we often talk about not wanting to work in silos, or not wanting to be doing something in one office in the college and something totally different somewhere else. So to get rid of silos, a more positive spin on that is talking about coming into alignment. It's just like a car needs to be in alignment when it's going down the highway. We need to make sure that we're in alignment with the things that we're trying to do, or otherwise we're going to be fighting against ourselves in our ultimate goals of our transformative actions towards students. And so I can talk to you for a few minutes about some things that Aviso has helped us to do at Haywood Community College. These are many things that any kind of similar software will help you do with when it comes to early alerting and interventions. Creating some sort of intervention type software or intervention type program so that you're catching student issues while they're happening instead of after they've happened, so we can be proactive instead of reactive. So good early intervention software or system is helpful. Also, it's very important to have a strategic communication plan. And that's just not one office like admissions. It's for the whole college to talk about how we communicate with students, how we manage those communications going out there. A product like Aviso has great systems when it comes to filters and tags, so that you can easily identify different student populations on the fly. There's been a lot of great work done in North Carolina this year, especially with minority mentoring and things like that, where we're utilizing known data points to communicate better with students. And so we can look more at that. But if you go to the next slide, I really want to focus more on relationship building in general. Some of that I also need to talk about closing the gaps with retention. We can know through risk models that Aviso helps us with all kinds of data points that are inside of their accounts, from their grades, their GPA, their attendance, all these things that we can track can help us to better see where they are in real time and focus on building meaningful relationships and interacting with students, like I said, in real time, rather than waiting until after a semester and looking at reports and seeing, well, what happened this past semester. We can do that, like I said, in real time. But, we really wanted at HCC to focus on building our relationships because they're so important, especially when it comes to advising. And that has been even more critical this past year coming out of the pandemic. And so we have to put a couple things into place here at Haywood that I'd like to share with you and would love to follow up with you at a later time if you would like to do that. The first thing is a hybrid advising model using team advising. So many schools may have advising where it's in an advising center and it's all in one location. You may have it where you have professional advisors, you may have faculty advisors, you may have a different methods or formats. We have a hybrid here at Haywood where we have dedicated success coaches that handle new students, and then we have faculty advisors that take on students after a transition point. But instead of it being a transactional type flow from one to the other, we decided to utilize Aviso to help do what we call team advising. So both the faculty advisor and the success coach is assigned to the student from day one to perform a success team, which comes around the student and serves different purposes and different roles so that they can build those relationships early on. We also redesigned our admissions process using career clusters. So we took off all our programs of study off of our admissions application. That includes the levels such as certificates, diplomas, and degrees, and the actual majors themselves, and replace them with career clusters that you now apply to. So if someone is interested in being a nurse, they would have to choose the cluster that says healthcare. Well, in doing that, those clusters are also part of the North Carolina initiative. Those clusters align with programs that we have, but they align with a success coach who will then contact the student after application and say, okay, you picked healthcare. Let's talk more about the end in mind. What career do you see yourself doing? And that might include a career inventory. It might include asking them if they want to attend a four-year institution or what is their end goal. And then we go from that and we roadmap backwards and determine what plan for success is going to be best for them, which also includes that at that point, the selection of the program of study that they're going to be in. So all this is part of a lot of initiatives and a lot of things that we've been very blessed to be part of over the past few years. And so far, after having implemented this, it's doing dividends for us in helping students get it right the first time so they don't spin their wheels in classes and rack up on withdrawals and things like that. And it also helps us to build better relationships because students trust that we're trying to take them down their pathway to success. And then we also use this approach through our ACA classes when we develop these roadmaps. And so you can continue on, Heather. So again, key focus on relationship building. This is some of the details and what I was just saying. We have 3 full-time success coaches here at Haywood. Again, we pair them with faculty advisors in that particular field. And so the student will stay with their coach for primary advising until a transition point is met. And I'll speak a little bit more to that in just a second. So the coaches guide students until the programs of study based on their goals. They use appreciative advising to get a plan of study. They train on the self-service platform for self-registration, and they enroll student in the ACA course, and also they handle all the early intervention alerts that happen when those are submitted. So you can go to the next slide, and that is for the success coaches. Now, students transition to a faculty advisor for primary course registration and for completion of their degree based on different points that we have set up with each academic dean or department to determine what that is. Those are assisted with Aviso tags. And so both the faculty advisor and success coach appear in the student's Aviso account. So this is an example of what a student might see when they log in. They see their success team and they can communicate with them right from the platform and send messages to them and interact with them, and vice versa. The faculty advisor or success coach can interact with the student. And they can talk about anything that they need to talk about in terms of their degree. They also have the note ability that we can do within there. So if you want to go to the next slide, the way we determine this is we have something we call S3. So they're settled, successful, and supported when they have reached the transition point. Okay, so every program designed when that transition point would be completed for them. For example, our forest management program requires that they complete ACA 115, Forestry 121, and English 111. So once those 3 classes are completed, Aviso pulls the information from our colleague system. So once the grades are entered and it sees that they have successfully passed those classes, it will automatically assign a tag on the student's account that says S3 AAS Forest Management. So that the presence of that tag lets the faculty advisor know that they are now the primary person of contact for the student when it comes to advising. And the success coach takes more of a backseat to champion the student on, still doing early interventions and that sort of thing. But really the baton is a little bit more in the faculty advisor's wheelhouse to take them on to graduation program completion. Okay, so this is just an example of how we do that. I also have, and you can go forward, and the last couple slides I have is just talking about ACA. And so if you want to go to the next one, it's hard not being in control. The next slide was talking more about ACA and our MyMap. And so as an activity in our ACA classes, we really focus on SMART goals: specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, and time-based. And we really try to focus on students to plan out those MyMaps, which we then put into their Aviso account, and that their coaches will follow up with them throughout their time here at the college to make sure that they're staying on goal and they're doing the things that they set out to do. And so I only have about 3 minutes left, and so I'm going to go ahead and see if there's any questions about anything I've talked about. Again, I'll be happy to follow up with anybody later to talk more in detail about the how behind what we're doing. But other than that, it's been great working with Aviso to do something like this. And it's been great seeing some of the results really with our students, the feedback they're providing us with the stories of how they feel supported and how they're getting information. And they feel like, with the front end approach that we're taking on getting it right the first time, they have a better sense of where it is they're headed, which was really important to us through this whole process. So are there any questions that anybody has today?
Yeah, so Michael, there's a question from Yushika at College of the Albemarle wanting to know about your automated tags. You can speak to it or I can speak to it, but I'll go ahead and have you answer that.
So I don't see that question about...
Oh, you don't see it in the chat? Do you go to the chat?
Oh, in the chat. I went to the Q. Okay. Do your automatic tags pull from the perk screen? No, so the automatic tags, so with tags with Aviso, they can pull from several different places. You can tell it where you want it to pull from. So if you do have a tag on the perk screen, you can use that. But how we use our tags for transition between the coaches and the faculty advisors is 100%. It reads the course completions that they have completed. So we tell it, for this particular program, they need to have this major and these classes completed with a grade C or higher. And if that is present, then assign this tag, and it automatically assigns the tag once that data is in there.
Yeah, and Michael, is that a tag that we helped build for you? I've got to remember.
Yeah, so that we have the Accelerate platform, and through that transition.
Yep, that's right. And then Julie, hi Julie. She wanted to know, Julie from Halifax, do the success coaches have any other responsibilities besides advising? For example, male minority, trio.
Yeah. So other duties as assigned, which is your most important, right? No. So the success coaches, their primary responsibility is advising, and that is what we try to focus them on doing. We do have them do some recruitment because we want them building those relationships early on, even for prospective students. They're not our main recruiter, but they do a lot of activities with us when we do recruiting type things with the high schools and stuff like that. But for the most part, I mean, yes, that is their primary responsibility is advising and handling all the loads of students or whatever, which is, a pretty arduous task. Our institution, is about 1,600 students strong per semester. So we're not the largest school, but at the same time, 3 full-time success coaches do a really good job of handling all incoming student traffic.
Yeah, a couple of other questions. How do the automatic tags notify the faculty member that student has transitions? Do your faculty get an email?
So you can set it up to where they get a notification. We also really encourage our faculty to use something called the filters. So when you go into the Aviso system, the platform, you have the ability to create custom filters based on certain criteria, and it will tell you who dynamically is listed in that filter group at that moment in time, that you can see at any given moment when the criteria is being met. And then you can then take that information and you can run reports off of it. You can message students right from the filter. There's a lot of things, a lot of power behind those filters. And again, they're dynamic. And so that means when students are part of that group, they automatically show up and you don't have to make anything happen to do that. And so you can set up a notification, but really the filters are really, really super helpful in seeing that.
And then I know we're right up against time, but just two more questions here. Where do you guys put the map in Avizo? I think is the one question.
Okay, there's a document upload area with Avizo where a staff person, a faculty member, whoever can go and actually attach the document for students. We use that for other things as well that we want to share with students. And so as a staff person, you can check what you want a student to see and what you don't want them to see. But that we upload them all into that document area so that the student can always go back, and you can also do a plan of study in there if that's something you wanted to do. But anyway, you can share stuff in that documents area within Avizo.
And last question here is, do you use the CFNC for your application? And they wanted to see how the career clusters work with the application.
Sure, we use CFNC, and that is something that when our annual time to make edits and changes came about, that was a substantial change that we needed to get approved first and everything, but we went down that road. And we're not the only school by any stretch of the imagination doing something like this. There's other institutions that are doing similar type things. I don't know if any are doing the exact approach we are with career clusters in that particular manner. I know some schools were just putting everybody in special credit type programs and then having conversations and moving them after that. We actually put everybody in a special iteration of A10100, which is the associate art, but it has a designation after it, which aligns with the cluster. So they're not going in the actual A10100, they're going into a iteration of A10100, like a holding program, until we know which program to actually move them into. But there's several things like that I can follow up with anybody on to talk about. But yes, we are using CFNC. That is actually a field that you are allowed to edit. You can't edit without their help, but that is one. Once the field is created, you can add the clusters in at your own institution. So you can bring in clusters, remove clusters, and you can map it so that depending on the cluster they pick, it automatically sends a notification to the staff person's email saying a new application has been submitted with this program, cluster, whatever.
Great. Thanks, Michael, for answering these questions. I know people wanted access to the presentation, so I will work with the crew there at the Partnership Summit to make sure that can be associated with our presentation. And I will go ahead and drop in here. You'll see up on the screen our email addresses, but I'll just drop them in the chat as well. So that way, if you want to easily click on these, you feel free to email either one of us if you would like the presentation, and if you don't see it as part of the agenda, because I know that they're putting recordings, I believe, on the agenda after the fact. So we'll make sure that we get you guys a link to the presentation, and Michael is always open for phone calls or meetings to talk about the use of Avizo, as well as all of the great innovative things that they're doing there at Haywood. So thank you all for your time today. Thank you, Michael, as always. And we hope you have a great second day of the conference tomorrow. And for those of you that will be joining us, Minority Male Success Initiative discussion, I'll see you all tomorrow, virtually see you all tomorrow for that presentation. Thanks all.
Thanks.